Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is, are we the divided states of America, or are we the United States of America? Let's look at some things and see if we can answer that question. So, are we the divided states of America? Are there two different Americas inside our border? So, let's look at a couple of things I've got here. A house divided against itself shall not stand, is what the angel said to Dana Coverstone August 20th of 2020. Meaning, if we allow our nation to be divided, God will take it down. If for no other reason, and there are plenty of other ones, that's a pretty good reason. So, are we divided? Here's a reporter that attacks the U.S. president. So the porter asks, why do you blame the Biden administration for all of the people coming into our nation? And the president has to answer and says, are you stupid? President Trump Obliterates reporter who asks why he blames the Biden administration for the Afghan terrorists entering our nation. He says, because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? They came in on a plane, along with thousands of other people who shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. Why would a reporter ask such a disrespecting question of the President of the United States? Obviously, they don't like them. They want to see our nation divided. They want to see our nation fall. In their heart, they're communists. They don't like the fact that there is a Christian nation. Now, before I go further, let me include you in on our goal. So we're at 98.2 thousand, a little under 100,000. And we'd like to invite you to join to become a subscriber on whatever channel you're watching on, but especially on this channel, because our goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers. So if you're watching on one of the other channels, please go to this channel, the YT channel, I shouldn't say the name, and subscribe. That'll help us to reach our goal of 100,000. Also, I need $12,000 to print this book that is now, I think by Monday or Tuesday, I will have the completed text, and it's at that point, I think it's all ready to go to print. But for them to ship it to us, they're going to need $12,000. So if you can help, now if you can't help, don't be upset that you can't, but if you can help, then here's what I'll do. I'll send you a personally autographed copy of it if you can help us with $500 or more. I know some of you will help without that, and I appreciate that. But this will tell you a little bit about it. Essentially, it is the timing of the rapture. As God showed me the secret door that lays out the chronological order of the prophecies in Revelation, He has now also shown me the secret door that gives us the timing of the rapture. I decided not to call it secret door to the timing of the rapture, but Pentecost rapture of the bride, not the church, Pentecost rapture of the bride. And when we get the book in hand, I will make several programs talking about it. But essentially, if you want to pause and read, that tells you the essence of what the book is all about. Also, this is the day after Thanksgiving, and I cannot guarantee that this sale is still going on, but you might check. EMPShield.com, if you use the promo code PROPHECY, get you a $50 discount on each item, but they may also still be offering the 25% additional discount. Go to EMPShield.com and see. Also, if you have an IRA or a 401k or a pile of money someplace and you don't want to see it lost, a very good place to call would be 800-200-GOLD, 800-200-4653. See if they will say, yeah, you're safe. You're not going to lose it. Also, if you want to make money, according to what these guys say, prophecyclubcrypto.com, prophecyclubcrypto.com. Back to our question. Divided. So, the U.S. recruited and trained to assist the U.S. troops a guy in Afghanistan that just killed U.S. National Guard and wounded another one. Here it is. So the FBI has now raided his $2,000 a month Washington apartment, that's Washington State, of Afghanistan immigrant who ambushed two National Guard soldiers near the White House. So why would the President of the United States let a guy like this in? Well, I agree that if they are helping America But then what are we doing in Afghanistan anyway? And there's some questions about whether we should go. Some people say yes, some people say no. But either way, why would the president of our United States, Biden, let people that are criminals into our nation? Obviously, there's a plan to bring down our nation. Jeremiah 51:14 says, "The Lord of hosts has surely sworn by himself, saying, Surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee." And I think that is the fulfillment of the some 20 million people that were allowed to come into our nation over a 4-year period during the Biden administration. In other words, you might say that President Biden may have said, hey, I have an idea. Let's go attack and kill several million Afghans, make them mad at us, then bring thousands of the criminals, the people that are angry at us, back into America. That will surely destroy America. It also could be a snare, a plan. Inside, reach 871 and a U.S. C-17 packed with 641 Afghans. 640 Afghans packed, and sad to say, there's more. There wasn't just one flight. There was many flights bringing people in. So the question is today, are we divided? Why would a president of a united nation bring together so many criminals and bring them into America? This is what the angel said to Dumitru. People in America honor people. The honor that should be given to God, they give to other people. Americans think high of themselves. They say, I serve God, but they don't. In the church, there's the divorces, adultery, fornication, sodomy, abortion, and all kinds of sin. Now, today, one of the things I want to point out with is F-bombs. I'm not going to say the word. We don't let those kind of words come out of our mouths as Christians. But I want you to notice that in TV interviews, on the internet, just about every place, you see a lot of mostly Democrats, but not just Democrats, some Republicans, some people that claim to be the good guys are using F-bombs. Now, a little good news, that 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from wicked ways, then I'll hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. We'd like to think our land could be healed, but Jeremiah 51 verse 14 says, no, we won't. We would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Now, a great divide will come between the holy and the unholy. That's part of one of the prophecies. And so I want to point out this word, the F-bomb, and I decided actually to not cover it up because I want to let people, I want you to notice it because it is every place these days. And every time I hear it, immediately I turn. I will not hear that word. These days, if you are going to a movie, you have to go and check to see what kind of filth is in the movie. But here, this guy is supposed to be a good guy. It says, shut up, only it doesn't say it that way. White House comms director, supposed to be a good guy, Stephen Chung, shreds lefty reporter for blaming terror attack against National Guard members on Trump. So if he's a good guy, what's he doing using that word? Jeremiah 50 verse 7, let me point out a couple of things. I believe this is God telling Jeremiah many years ago that he's going to destroy this nation that many years ago hadn't even been formed yet. All that have found them, talking about the people in America, have devoured them. Their adversaries said, we offend not because they have sinned against the Lord. Americans, Christians, the church, has sinned against the Lord. In the church, there's abortion, adultery, fornication, sodomy, and all kinds of sin, and F-bombs. Remove out of the midst of Babylon. I think there's a time coming where the Holy Spirit will speak to Christians to leave America. I will raise up and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. Now, it's going to be led by Russia, but not just Russia. If you look here, shout against her round about. So, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, some attack from the north, some attack from the south, some attack from the oceans, but we're attacked from round about. I've laid a snare. I want you to look at that word snare. What's a snare? The rabbit has been going from the grasslands to the water source for many months, and everything has been just fine. But the hunter comes along and lays a snare, and this day it's not safe for the rabbit. So the rabbit does the same thing he's done for several months between food source and water, but there's a snare. He gets caught in the snare. I think this is one of the snares that God has laid for because you've striven against the Lord. So God is laying a snare. Let me show you what I think is part, or at least one of the snares. Trump signaled U.S. ground operations against Venezuelan cartel to begin soon. So it's not enough that he's blowing up boats. And don't get me wrong, I think that they need to do something about stopping the illegal drugs that are killing Americans. But I also concede that this is a trap. Here's another article. Trump, U.S. will act very soon against Venezuelan drug traffickers by land. The U.S. will very soon start taking action to stop suspected Venezuelan drug traffickers on land. Well, that's not one of the listed nations, but the angel told him Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, and he said two other nations I can't remember. I think Michael Boldea, grandson of Dumitru Dumitru, also agrees with me. One of the other nations that were unnamed is Venezuela. Another one is Iraq, possibly Iran, and probably also North Korea. There might be even more nations that decide to attack and take America down. Okay, so when the whale dies, it feeds a lot of other nations. And when the whale nation, the biggest nation, wealthiest nation, falls, it's going to feed a lot of other nations by things they steal from our nation. Silver will skyrocket, far more than gold. That was a prophecy given to Shane Warren way back in 2010. Oh, really? Silver spikes in an up price. Chicago Mercantile Exchange suffers data center cooling issue, shuts down. Now, they are blaming this cooling issue on, they're blaming the cut down or the shutdown on a cooling issue. I think the cooling issue didn't have to do with heated computers. I think it had to do with the price of silver and also gold, in another article I didn't put in here, going up. Why would silver or gold go up? Because they think the value of the dollar is going down. Overnight, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange data. Overnight, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange data center suffered a cooling issue in its data center, requiring a shutdown of all futures trading. Some observers noted that the price of silver was skyrocketing at the time, up 3% before the cooling issue. Due to the cooling issue at Cyrus One data centers, our markets are currently halted. Support is working to resolve the issue in the near term and would advise clients of pre-open now. Was it that the stock market, the price of silver was going up, or was it that their computers were overheating? Maybe even both. But the point is, that's one of the other signs that Shane was told that would be nearing the fall of the dollar. Dumitru Dumitru, let me read this. This is March 2003. Jeremiah 51, verse 7. Now, before I read that scripture, let me tell you a little story. So, I met Dumitru Dumitru in 1987. This would have been probably 1988 or 9, somewhere in there. I wrote a letter to God's News Behind the News, which was then the prophecy ministry in America, and I wasn't the prophecy ministry and had no idea or intention or desire to be in the ministry at that time. But I wrote him a letter and said, hey, this Dumitru Dumitru, you need to have him come and speak at his annual prophecy meeting down in St. Petersburg, Florida. It was, it lasted 3 or 4 days, and there was thousands. Everybody who was a prophecy student went down there because at the time, all of the prophecy students were on the same page. That was, everybody was pre-trib. Because if you go to the Christian bookstores, if you buy any Christian book, they were all pre-trib. Nobody had seen that there was any other answer other than pre-trib. So anyway, I wrote him a letter. I said, I need to have this guy, Dumitru Dumitru, come down and speak. He did. Dumitru went down and spoke. Now, let me back up here. At this time, I think it was 1986 or 7, somewhere in there. We were about to go to war with Saddam Hussein. And Dumitru told me this story. He said, so I was sitting there waiting to be introduced, and all of the speakers would get up, and they would say, oh, well, Saddam Hussein is talked about in Jeremiah 50, chapter 50 and 51. And he is Babylon, and God is going to destroy Babylon. And we're going to have the victory. And they were all saying that. And he said, so I knew that wasn't right. He said, so I just bowed my head and closed my eyes right quick and prayed a little quick prayer, sitting in the audience, waiting to be introduced. And I said, Lord, what do you want me to say? And the Lord spoke to him audibly. And he said, don't worry. He said, you go up there and I will fill your mouth with what to say. He said, so I was introduced. I went up and he said, I knew I was about to say something contrary to what all of the other prophecy speakers were saying. He said, here's what came out of my mouth. He said, everyone is saying that Saddam Hussein is the king of Babylon and that Iraq is Babylon. And Jeremiah 50 and 51 is talking about Babylon and the fall of Babylon and that God is going to destroy Iraq. And he said, but I have a question. When Saddam Hussein prays, to what God does he pray to? And they all said, oh, well, he prays to Allah. He said, okay, then everyone turned to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. They turned. He says, now, what does it say? Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Okay, so this is a nation that at one time God was very pleased with. A golden cup in the Lord's hand. He said, this is not talking about Iraq. This is talking about America. And of course, the whole audience was shocked. Babylon hath been, in other words, used to be, a golden cup in the Lord's hand. What does that mean? It means that America used to be a nation that would do what the Lord directed them to do. How many times have you and I both prayed, Lord, I will do what you tell me to do. I will go say, whatever, wherever, whenever, I'm in your hand. Whatever you want me to do and say, I'm your servant, I'll do it. We've said that, and so has America said that. In her heart, she said that at one time. Obviously, it was perhaps a distant past. So Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. He said then, so has Iraq made all of the earth drunken with Iraq's sins? Does the world listen to Saddam Hussein when Saddam Hussein tells them to do anything? No. He says, brothers and sisters, he says, it's not talking about Iraq. It's talking about America. All the nations have been made drunk with the wine of the wrath, as Revelation 18 says, means that, like the Pied Piper, the world has followed America as we have fallen away from Jesus. They followed us. And the nations are mad. And yeah, we think angry, but what the nations have done is made a big mistake. They've followed the nation that used to be a Christian nation, that used to hand out Bibles and take the gospel around the world and was blessed of it. But now, who is it that makes the filthy movies? Not Iraq. Who is it that makes the filthy magazines? It's not Iraq. Who is it that spreads the filth around the world? It's not Iraq. It's America. We make the movies. We print the books. We print the magazines. We corrupt the world. That's what it's saying. All the earth had been made drunk with the wine, in other words, with her sin, wine of sin, been made drunk with the wine, therefore the nations are mad, and that means not just angry at us, yes they are, but they're also full of evil. They're full of deception. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so she may be healed, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let every man go into his own country. And I read for you a day or so ago all of the many verses that say, leave America, leave Babylon. There's a time coming when Christians will not be able to leave America fast enough. And where we go, Jeremiah 50, verse 20 says, let Jerusalem come in your mind. I read that, so I will keep on going. FastGap. So each Tuesday evening, I send out an email from me directly to our Fast Track members and our FastGap members. Fast Track are those people that want to fast and pray for Prophecy Club, to win the souls, to do all the things that God has told us to do. However, a few years back, I guess about 150 weeks ago, whenever that was, we started FastGap, which is those people who want to fast and pray for America. Fast Track is praying for Prophecy Club. FastGap is praying for America. Now, you can join that by going to prophecyclub.com, slide to the bottom, and you can sign up for Fast Track or FastGap, or I'd recommend both. Now, here's it work. Each Tuesday evening, I send an email with all the mistakes on it, directly from me to you, saying, okay, this is the fast, this is the prayer, and this is when we're going to do it. And most of the time, the fast starts Tuesday evening at midnight and then ends on Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m., whatever time you're in. And you can stop anytime you want to. There's no cost to join. And I promise you, I never send product offers. I never ask for donations. Never do. This is only if you want to fast and pray for either Prophecy Club or America. Now, for many months, so ever since the Ukraine war started, part of what the FastGap team has been praying for is this. I've been asking them to pray that Trump will walk away from supporting Ukraine. No help, no support. Why? Because the real truth is, some of the most evil people, the most evil nation on the planet is Ukraine, Kazakhstan. That's where Nazism started, okay? The Ashkenazis, you ever heard that word before? That's where the word Nazi comes from, Ashkenazis. And that started in the Ukraine area. Ukraine's part of the area. Then it went from there to Switzerland, from there to Germany. In World War II, that's who our boys were fighting. They were fighting the Nazis and the Switzerland Nazis and the Ukraine Nazis. But see, Russia didn't switch sides. Russia's still against the Nazis. They were against the Nazis in World War II. But America, we switched sides. We are now for the Nazis. That's Ukraine. So we have been praying, in my direction, that Trump would just walk away from Ukraine. Walk away. I think that Russia and Ukraine have a deal, have a plan. They're trying to get America involved to the point to where Russia can then make an excuse, well, they attacked us first, so we can destroy them. So this came out November 21. Covert Intel says by next Thursday, Thursday being Thanksgiving, which by the time you watch this, a couple of days ago, but I want you to read the third paragraph. Kyiv has been told they must sign the proposal by next Thursday. Apparently, that didn't happen. I'm recording this Friday afternoon, 2:20, and it's 11/28, 2025. And so far, I'll show you the article in just a second. So, all U.S. intelligence information, all U.S. weapons provisions will permanently be cut off. This includes weapons sales to Europe for Ukraine. Now, I hope and pray this is true, and that Trump does, in fact, cut him off. No help. He needs to walk away from Ukraine, and I'll also ask you guys to pray that way too. Now, here's the article. Zelensky won't cede territory to Russia. Scandal hit top aide says. Okay, so if they're not going to agree to this, I'll say thank you. That will be an answered prayer. Then Trump needs to wash his hands and walk away from Ukraine. Totally walk away from it. No support whatsoever. Russia does what Russia's going to do. It's not our problem. Don't get involved in Ukraine, because the end of it is going to be the snare. That's the snare God has laid for us. My guess is probably Trump won't walk away. But that's what I think would be the best thing. Now, I've already stated this. I think, cannot prove, Russia and Ukraine have a secret plan to get America involved until Russia can finally say they attacked us first. And then, before the eyes of the world, they can take us out. Final point here. What's wrong with required digital ID? Well, Revelation 13:15 says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, his number is 666. In other words, the time is coming when no one on the planet will be able to buy or sell unless they have a digital ID, the mark of the beast. Well, it's being set up. This one is talking about that UK is in progress setting it up. But it's not just UK. There's actually several other nations that have already set it up. For example, if you are flying on an airplane these days, a law was passed, you have to have real ID. And you have to have a little star on your driver's license or you can't get on a plane. That's all part of it. They're moving baby step by baby step by baby step. They're working to get us toward there is a national ID. These guys are resisting him. Here's a petition to stop digital IDs, and it's reached over 2.3 million signatures. Again, this is mostly the UK, but it's coming to a neighborhood near us. So all of this shows that, brothers and sisters, we are very close to the end time. So I'm going to conclude by saying, please subscribe. Go to YT, you know what I'm talking about, and subscribe. Also, if you'd pray that FB puts our channel back up, we got it. FB took us down. Also, I need some help printing this book. And if you would like to be on the list of those people that can say, hey, you know, I helped print that book. I think this book is going to sell millions. I think that it's going to help us fill sports stadiums. The number one question every Christian on the planet has is, when is the rapture? The Pentecost Rapture of the Bride book that I've just written answers that question. When I've sent it to other people, here's some of the remarks. They said, well, you know, I've always wondered, you know, how's it all work? And they said, it has to be. This is simple. It's obvious. I never saw it this way before, but this is the real answer. So if you can help us, $12,000 print this book, that would be very, very good. Thank you. And I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, and we look forward to a Merry Christmas. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. If you want to be on the end of making money, gold and silver is preserving your money. If you want to be on the end of making money, then you might want to call prophecyclubcrypto.com or actually go to it or call that number at the bottom right corner. Ask them about crypto if you're in the position where you can make money.